Imagine this for a second, because I'm almost certain nearly everyone watching has lived through some version of this moment. That quiet, sinking feeling in your chest that shows up when life decides to test you at exactly the wrong time, when you're already stretched thin and pretending everything is fine. You're on your way to work, maybe a little behind schedule, coffee barely kicking in, mentally rehearsing the day ahead, and then out of nowhere a small orange light flickers on your dashboard. That harmless-looking check engine symbol that might as well be a warning siren, because you instantly know it means money you don't have. You tell yourself it's probably nothing serious, maybe just a sensor, maybe something small, something you can deal with later. But deep down you already know the truth. You know that fixing it today might cost $300, maybe $4. And when you open your banking app and see $42 sitting there like a cruel joke, the decision gets made for you. So you do what most people do when they're cornered. You ignore it. You turn the music up louder to drown out the strange vibration. You convince yourself the car feels normal. You pray it survives just a little longer. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. And then one afternoon the engine gives up on the side of the highway, smoke curling out from under the hood while traffic flies past you. And now you're not talking about a cheap fix anymore. Now you're paying for a tow truck, then a destroyed part, then collateral damage to something bigger, and suddenly that small $300 problem mutates into a $2,000 nightmare. And because you can't get to work, you miss shifts, lose wages, fall behind on bills, and what started as a minor inconvenience becomes a financial avalanche. That isn't bad luck. That's math. That is the brutally precise, measurable, suffocating cost of not having money in the first place. My name is Bobby, and I spend an unhealthy amount of time thinking about the hidden rules of money, the invisible systems that quietly keep ordinary people sprinting on a treadmill while wondering why they never actually move forward. And if you feel like you're working harder every year but somehow staying in the exact same place, or if one unexpected Tuesday could wreck your entire month, then stick with me, subscribe, like the video, do whatever you need to do to come back here, because today we're not talking about crypto, we're not talking about day trading, and we're definitely not talking about get-rich-quick fantasies. We're talking about something much darker. We're talking about why being broke is unbelievably expensive. Here's what most financial advice gets completely wrong. They tell you wealth is about discipline and poverty is about laziness. They shame you for buying coffee. They say cancel your streaming subscription as if saving $10 a month is going to transform your life. But that advice ignores a simple economic reality that hits poor people every single day like gravity. There's a concept sometimes called the Boots Theory, and it explains inequality better than a stack of academic papers. Picture two people. One has money, one doesn't. The person with money buys a solid $50 pair of boots made from real leather, stitched properly, built to last 10 years. The person without money can't drop 50 at once, so they buy the $10 pair made of cheap material that falls apart in the rain. Next year they buy another, then another. Over 10 years they spend $100, double the cost, and still end up with wet feet and sore ankles while the wealthy person stayed dry the entire time. That is the punishment for lacking cash. You don't just have less, you pay more for everything. And before you think this is some cute metaphor about shoes, look around your own life, because this pattern is everywhere once you start noticing it. Take something stupidly simple like toilet paper. If you've got $50 available, you go to a warehouse store and buy the giant pack that lasts half a year and costs pennies per roll. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you can't tie up $50 in paper goods, so you buy the tiny pack at the corner store for $4, and each roll costs 3 times as much. Same product, same brand, completely different price just because you didn't have upfront cash. That's the poverty premium. It shows up in groceries, diapers, detergent, soap, everything you use daily, and it quietly raises your personal inflation rate higher than someone who already has money. But it gets uglier. Let's talk about banks, because this part honestly makes my blood boil. If you keep 10 grand sitting in your account, the bank treats you like royalty. No fees, maybe perks, maybe a smile. But if you're barely scraping by with $20 and a forgotten subscription hits your card for $25, suddenly you're -5 and the bank slaps you with a $35 overdraft fee like you committed a crime. Do the math. You effectively borrowed $5 and paid $35 for the privilege. That's an interest rate so insane it would be illegal anywhere else. Yet when a bank does it, it's just policy. The rich earn interest. The poor pay interest. Money literally flows uphill. And then there's the psychological side that nobody talks about enough. When you're constantly worried about rent, about food, about whether your card will decline at the register, your brain goes into survival mode. Studies show your decision-making ability actually drops. Your mental bandwidth shrinks. It's like trying to plan your future while someone is holding your head underwater. So people make desperate choices. Payday loans, fast food, lottery tickets, not because they're stupid, but because their brain is exhausted. Poverty isn't just financial, it's cognitive. It drains your thinking power. Now scale that same Boots logic up to something bigger, like cars. A person with savings buys a reliable used Toyota with low interest and drives it for 10 years with barely any repairs. A person with bad credit goes to a predatory lot, overpays for a dying car, gets hit with 24% interest, and ends up paying 3 times the value for something that breaks before the loan is even finished. Then they're stuck paying for a car they can't even drive. That's not irresponsibility. That's a trap. Housing works the same way. Renting feels cheaper in the moment, but month after month you're paying someone else's mortgage plus their profit while building zero equity for yourself. And because rent eats half your paycheck, you can never save the down payment that would actually lower your monthly cost. So you stay stuck funding someone else's wealth. You're renting your shelter, renting your money through credit cards, renting your stability. And then there's the hidden tax nobody calculates: time. If you own a washer and dryer, laundry takes minutes. If you have to use a laundromat, you lose hours. Hours you could use working, resting, learning, or being with family. If you live far from affordable grocery stores, you lose even more time commuting just to buy food. When you're broke, everything takes longer. Everything has friction. And time is the one thing you can't earn back. So yes, this sounds depressing, and I get that, but here's the important part. Understanding the math is how you escape it. If you don't see the trap, you keep blaming yourself instead of attacking the system that's draining you. Most people think investing means chasing stocks for 8% returns, but if you're paying 20% on credit cards, the best investment isn't the stock market. It's killing that debt. That's a guaranteed return. If buying a durable appliance saves you from replacing cheap ones every year, that's an investment too. Step 1 isn't getting rich. Step 1 is stopping the bleeding. And this is where the most powerful tool comes in. Something boring but life-changing. The buffer. An emergency fund. That first $1,000. Because when you have a buffer, a flat tire isn't a crisis. It's an inconvenience. A small repair doesn't turn into a disaster. You can buy in bulk. You can avoid fees. You can say no to predatory loans. Having a little cash literally lowers your monthly costs. It flips the game. You stop reacting and start choosing. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this payment?" you start asking, "What's the total lifetime cost?" And that one question alone will save you thousands. Companies want you trapped in monthly payments and late fees. They profit from your struggle. When you start thinking long-term, you become a terrible customer for them and a brilliant manager of your own life. So here's the practical move. Audit your life. Hunt down every place where being broke is costing you extra. High-interest debt, fees, cheap items you replace constantly. Find the biggest leak and focus all your energy on plugging that one hole first. Sell stuff. Work extra hours. Cut expenses temporarily. Not to suffer forever, but to buy freedom permanently. Because every time you upgrade from the cheap boots to the durable ones, you're breaking a link in the chain. This path isn't fair. It's harder at the beginning. Going from 0 to 10,000 is brutal. But once you build momentum, once you stop paying the poverty premium, things finally start compounding in your favor instead of against you. And that's the moment you realize you were never bad with money. You were just playing a game where the rules were stacked against you. Now you know the rules, so you can finally win. If this opened your eyes even a little, share it with someone who needs it, subscribe for more breakdowns like this, and let's keep learning how to buy the boots that actually last. See you in the next one. And before you click away thinking this is just another motivational speech wrapped in financial jargon, I want you to slow down for a second and really sit with this idea, because once you truly understand what I'm about to say, you start seeing the world differently, almost like putting on a new pair of glasses that suddenly reveals all the invisible price tags attached to your life that you never noticed before. Little leaks everywhere quietly draining your future while you blamed yourself for not trying hard enough. Because here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody explains when you're young and broke and trying your best. The game was never just about working harder. It was about having enough breathing room to make smart decisions. And without that breathing room, even the most disciplined person ends up trapped making short-term choices that sabotage the long-term picture, not out of stupidity or laziness but out of pure survival instinct. Think about how many decisions you make every single day that are shaped not by what is optimal but by what is immediately possible. How often you choose the faster option instead of the cheaper one because you're exhausted. How often you delay fixing something small because you can't afford the inconvenience today even though you know it will cost more tomorrow. How often you settle for good enough because good enough is all your wallet will allow, and slowly, without realizing it, your entire life becomes a series of temporary patches instead of permanent solutions. You don't buy the durable chair that lasts 10 years, you buy the wobbly one that breaks next summer. You don't get preventative dental care, you wait until you're in agony and need a root canal. You don't cook healthy meals in bulk because you're too drained after work, so you grab fast food that costs more and wrecks your energy. And each of these tiny compromises feels harmless on its own, but together they create a constant drag on your finances, your health, and your mind. It's like trying to run a marathon with a backpack full of rocks that you didn't even realize you were carrying. And the worst part is that society then turns around and judges you for running slower. They say you should budget better, you should grind harder, you should wake up at 5 in the morning and hustle like some productivity guru on the internet. But they never acknowledge that someone with savings is playing an entirely different sport than someone living on the edge of overdraft, because one mistake for them is a lesson and one mistake for you is a catastrophe. For them, a flat tire is an annoyance. For you, it's a domino that knocks over rent, groceries, and your mental health all at once. For them, a broken laptop means ordering a new one the same day. For you, it means losing income while you scramble to borrow money or use high-interest credit just to stay afloat. The margin for error is everything. And when you have no margin, every decision feels like walking a tightrope without a net. This is why wealth isn't just about luxury or fancy vacations or posting photos from some beach resort. Wealth at its core is simply options. It is the ability to say no, the ability to wait, the ability to choose the long-term play instead of the desperate short-term fix. And once you reframe money this way, it stops being about status and starts being about freedom. Because freedom is being able to fix the engine light the same day it appears. Freedom is buying quality once instead of junk 5 times. Freedom is sleeping at night without that constant low-level anxiety whispering that one unexpected bill could ruin everything. And here's where things get empowering, because even though the system is unfair and even though the math is stacked against you at the beginning, the formula does change once you create even the smallest cushion, because the moment you stop paying penalties, your progress starts accelerating in a way that feels almost magical. It's like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain open versus finally plugging the drain and watching the water level rise for the first time. Because for years you weren't bad at saving, you were just pouring water into a system that was leaking from 10 different holes at once. Once the leaks are sealed, suddenly every dollar actually stays. Every dollar starts stacking. Every dollar starts working for you instead of against you. And something strange happens psychologically too, something most people don't talk about enough. Because when you know you have even a small safety net, your brain relaxes, your thinking gets clearer, you start planning months ahead instead of days ahead, you make calmer decisions, you negotiate better, you take smarter risks, and opportunities that you couldn't even see before start appearing simply because you finally have the capacity to notice them. That's the hidden superpower of stability. It restores your cognitive bandwidth. You stop reacting and start strategizing. You stop surviving and start designing. So instead of asking yourself why you aren't further ahead, maybe the better question is, where are the hidden penalties in my life right now? Where am I overpaying simply because I'm forced to think short term? Where am I buying the cheap boots again and again without realizing it? And what is the one upgrade that would permanently remove this recurring cost? Maybe it's paying off that toxic credit card. Maybe it's fixing the car. Maybe it's moving closer to work to save hours of commuting. Maybe it's building that first boring $1,000. Maybe it's learning one skill that increases your income so you're not stuck trading time for scraps forever. Because every permanent fix is like reclaiming a piece of your future. Every upgrade removes friction. Every bit of stability compounds. And after a while you look back and realize you're not constantly putting out fires anymore. You're not waking up in panic mode anymore. You're not bracing for disaster every time your phone buzzes with a notification. And for the first time your life feels quiet, steady, controlled, and that quiet stability is something money can't directly buy but absolutely protects. So don't chase flashy wealth right now. Don't obsess over becoming a millionaire overnight. Don't fall for the fantasy that one lucky trade or one viral side hustle will save you. Because real financial strength is much less dramatic and much more practical. It's built in boring decisions repeated consistently. It's built in quality over quantity. It's built in buffers and margins and saying no when everyone else is saying yes. It's built in buying the boots that last. And once you understand that, once you truly internalize that being broke is expensive and stability is profitable, you stop seeing saving as deprivation and start seeing it as self-defense. You stop seeing smart purchases as sacrifices and start seeing them as investments in peace of mind. And you begin to realize that every dollar you protect today is a tiny soldier fighting for your freedom tomorrow. So take control, plug the leaks, build the buffer, upgrade the boots, and little by little watch how the math that once worked against you slowly, quietly, relentlessly begins to work in your favor. And the strangest part about this entire journey, something almost nobody warns you about, is that once you finally start stabilizing your finances, you begin to notice that the world doesn't actually get easier. You simply get stronger and more insulated from its chaos, because the emergencies never truly stop coming. The car will still break, the roof will still leak, the economy will still wobble, companies will still raise prices, life will still throw punches at random, but now instead of each hit knocking you to the ground, it just feels like background noise. Like weather you can calmly walk through instead of a storm that destroys your house every single season. You start to realize that what you were really building this whole time was not money itself but resilience. A kind of quiet armor that protects your time, your sleep, your relationships, and your mental health, because there is nothing more exhausting than living in constant financial fear and nothing more liberating than knowing that if something goes wrong you can handle it without begging, without borrowing, without spiraling into panic. And when that fear finally loosens its grip, something beautiful happens that no spreadsheet can measure. You begin thinking bigger. You begin imagining possibilities that once felt ridiculous. You consider changing careers, starting a small business, moving to a better neighborhood, learning new skills, investing in yourself, because you're no longer trapped in that suffocating cycle of, how do I survive this week? And your brain finally has the space to ask the much more powerful question of, how do I design the next 5 years of my life?